you know, because afterwards, you know, I went back home. You know, obviously I didn't finish. I finished out school, but it was like I took the tests that I had to. And coming to your question about how I started speaking, you know, I remember at the time being so, what's the word? Just in shock, I think is the only way to say it. Where like the only way I can describe it is I would just be sitting there in the house, and like the phone would ring. And it was to the point, like, you know, when you're feeling sorry for yourself and you're like, oh, I don't want to answer that. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, the phone would ring and it wouldn't even elicit a response. You know, it was
You're
like,
dead.
Exactly. It was just, I couldn't feel anything. I was just in total shock. Couldn't sleep, anything like that. And I, you know, every time I would close my eyes, I would kind of relive that scene of walking up to the vehicle and seeing somebody trapped, you know, because of what I had done. So I wasn't sleeping, and then that was probably, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. My mom came up with a suggestion, you know, and she knew obviously I was hurting, you know, because I just
Numb.
So much guilt, you know, it was so much guilt, like it's you can't even try to describe it, you know. That's just something that you won't understand it unless you feel it, you know, because it's never in a million years, I think, speaking for most people, but I can speak for myself, would anybody be okay with that? No. You know, with what they just did. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking killed somebody. And the worst part is you didn't mean to, but you did. And it doesn't change, no matter how much you didn't mean to, it doesn't change anything.
Have you ever had a chance to talk to his family?
I've spoken with some. Spoke to his aunt very briefly at sentencing. She actually handed me a card. She didn't say much. She walked right up to me and she was handing me a card and kind of like just, I don't even remember if she said anything.
What would you say to them if you could right now? I mean,
same thing I've always said.
Yeah. What's that?
Is that, you know, it was the worst thing I've ever done. You know, and if I could trade places even today, I still would.
And when you started public speaking, what was the comment? What was the content you were telling people? What were you?
So I would tell a story, you know, because, and it was cool because, so my mom suggested, she was like, hey, like, why don't you go speak about this? And I remember being like, no, like, I don't want to do that at all. Like, I don't even want to answer my phone. I don't even want to change the channel. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything. Like, I'm empty. And she was like, you know, it'll be good for you. And I fought her on it for a while. And at the time she was teaching at Gloucester City. Gloucester High or middle school, I don't know. One of the schools in Gloucester. It was one of her first jobs. And she talked to the principal and they arranged it, you know. And I remember I walked into an auditorium full of kids, like full auditorium.
And 20 at that point?
20, yeah, still 20. And I walked into this auditorium, and because it was right around prom season, you know, it was. I got in the accident in April, and they're looking for that kind of story. So I walked into this full auditorium, a couple hundred kids, and there's just a stool up on stage, and I had no idea what I was going to say. You know, I didn't rehearse it at all, and I remembered like I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do this, but something told me like, you need to get up there and you need to tell people what has happened, you know, because the way you feel right now
could be these kids,
could be somebody else, you know what I mean? And don't be selfish, and don't, like, it's going to be hard for you to get up there and be honest about what you did and say, hey, I fucked up. Like, don't fuck up like me. Like, don't be an idiot.